Many Bothans died. Bring us this information.
Hello and welcome to Unlimited Power TCG. In this video we're going to be looking at the Ashes of the Empire, not Chancellor but Emperor Palpatine Spotlight Deck. Part of the pair of Spotlight decks where you've got Luke from Battle of Endor versus the Emperor. Not Luke versus Vader, because that wasn't the battle there. Vader was just the pawn and the Emperor was the real enemy at that point. Thank you very much to Asmodee UK and Fantasy Flight Games for providing this sample copy of this deck for me to look at and review and open and crack for you, the viewer's pleasure. So yeah, let's go in and see what we're going to be covering in this video. We're going to be looking at the deck list itself. We're going to be looking at a set of tips and tricks provided in the Spotlight deck for you to look at and see as written by the devs. These are pretty basic, they're kind of prompts. The cards that I particularly like from the deck, the cards that I don't particularly like from the deck, cards that I think I would want to add. I haven't added all of them, but these are ones that I flagged and caught as being particularly synergistic with how the leader works, and I'll explain why as we go through them. All of the cards that I would consider adding here are all Premier legal as of time of filming. Some of them will be leaving Premier in rotation as of the first set of 2027, which we're expecting to be released in February or March 2027, so be aware of that. And the final upgraded deck itself will be posted here, as well as a link to the deck list on DB if you want to take a look at it and copy it and play around with it for your own personal use. So yeah, there we go. And this is for those of you who may not be familiar with a Spotlight deck, what it physically is, what you get, what's inside it, what it looks like. So here we go, this is the box. The contents of the actual Spotlight deck inside it take up about a quarter of the physical space, so there's a lot of wasted space inside here. I guess it just looks nicer on the shelf, a bit more visual. The contents of the box are 50 card fixed deck, 1 base card, 1 leader card, 3 double-sided token cards, one of which is more interesting, and I'll show you that in a moment. 31 counters, little pop-up card counters that you get in a card sheet, and 1 booster pack, such as you would buy normally. Right, so let's crack open and see what's inside it and show you what to expect from your Spotlight deck as and when you get hold of one. So yeah, around a little bit of card. Gone off. Woo! Yeah, there we go. Right, so yeah, there we go. There's the Spotlight deck. It takes up that much space from that way and that much space that way. So like I said, it takes up not an awful lot of space at all. You get a booster pack. We get the tokens cut sheet, and what we do not get is we do not get a rule book. Spotlight decks are not starter decks. They're not meant to teach you the game. They assume you know the rules of the game, although they do have a link in order for you to be able to go and find the rules online should you want to do so. So let's put the booster pack to one side for the moment and look at the Spotlight deck itself. We have Star Wars Ashes of the Empire Spotlight Deck B. Deck A was Luke Skywalker, and Deck B is not Chancellor Palpatine but Emperor Sheev Palpatine, as is his name. Right, so in here we have the leader card, which is double-sided with the leader unit and the leader side, which is great. You got the Emperor's Throne Room, which looks an awful lot like this map, doesn't it? Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's a very cool map. Thank you very much, Asmodee and FFG. Much appreciated indeed. These are the cards of the Spotlight deck, which we'll be going through and seeing this deck in some detail in a short map. Oh, that reminds me. On the back of the start of the base card is a deck list, which again we'll be looking at a digital image of in a little bit later. These are the decks, all the cards, including pretty big Executors and pretty big Darth Vaders, and yeah, there we go. Right at the end we have 3 token cards, which are advantages on the one side because Emperor Palpatine uses a lot of advantage tokens, and on the other side 2 of them are shields, and the other one is a tips and tricks card, giving you a little bit of detail on how the deck works, what's going on in it, and how to play the deck. This will be shown in the video a little bit later on, zoomed in as much detail as you may or may not want to see, so don't worry about trying to zoom in on this. I'll show you that a little bit later on, because I do not want to skip over that. It's an interesting piece to have included in the Spotlight deck. Right, cool. So, the booster. We have Akbar on the front. What are we going to get? Let's find out. I do like that these are sort of paperish booster packs. It's great for the recycling purposes. And do we have a Spotlight showcase even? We don't, but we do have a Hyperspace Bo-Katan Kryze, which is going to be an interesting leader. Possibly more fun in Twin Suns. Maybe. We shall see. Base, common, hyperspace, buy time, do like hyperspaces. We have a hyperfoil Duchess Protector. 2/3 for 3 isn't a great stat line, but creates a 2/2 shielded Mandalorian token when it is killed, so that's not too bad. Uncommon, 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 and a rare Rook, which I think there's some of in the deck as it is, so it's an extra Rook, which is great. Right, there we go. Before we jump into the deck list, let's take a look at the leader itself. This is Emperor Palpatine. This is the hyperspace version that you get from the pre-release, should you have attended one or want to pick up one on the singles market afterwards. Action, choose an exalted friendly unit, give an advantage token to it for each other friendly unit. So, looking at this, you want as big a board as you possibly can with as many units on it as you can. So that you can choose a unit that is exhausted, that you've either just played or is already attacked, and buff it with a whole bunch of advantage tokens. Fairly straightforward. Deploys on 7 as a 4/8 stat line, at which point it will do exactly the same thing again when it attacks itself for 4 damage. So it will not be able to give itself an advantage token, and it doesn't count itself for being an exhausted unit that counts towards how many advantage tokens you can give them. So, in and of himself, Emperor Palpatine doesn't do a vast amount except empower his minions to fight on his behalf, which is exactly as Palpatine should be, really. Right, jumping into the deck list. This is the deck list as provided by Fantasy Flight Games. You can see all the numbers, all the rarities, an overlook of the quantities in them, and a link to view the rules should you wish to do so. But to get a little bit more information about what the cards themselves actually are, we've got a deck list here from SwooDB, a wonderful deck building platform website that I very much like and have used since Star Wars Unlimited was launched. Check it out, it's great. Not every deck list they produce is in hyperspace, and the cards in the Spotlight aren't in hyperspace. That is a bonus I get for supporting SwooDB, as I do, and I love it, and it makes them look really shiny and spanky, and it's great. So yeah, here you'll see the cards that are in the deck, as well as the volumes and quantities that are in there. Generally speaking, most of the cards there are 3 of in here are the S or special rarity, which means they are exclusive to the Spotlight deck. They are rare draws in the hyperspace or hyperfoil slots in normal booster packs, but as a general rule, these are exclusive to the Spotlight deck, with very few exceptions, as I just mentioned. Ones in here tend to be rare. The bottom 5 is rare, 8d8 is rare, Rook is rare, Craving Power is rare, Great Mother's rare, etc, etc. And the 2s and other 3s are in here because that's what FFG wanted to include and thought they were worthwhile in so doing. Okay. Moving on from here, tips and tricks provided by the devs are... Here we go. These are fairly basic and straightforward tips. I'm not going to read them out loud. You can read them or pause them as much as you wish and get to them. And the tricks in doing so... Oh yeah, Moff Jared, he's absolutely one of the critically important parts of this deck. And, well, yeah, Executor. You're going to have... hopefully you'll have a large board at that point, which is something that I'm looking to improve on when I upgrade the deck and make the upgraded deck list later on in this video. Cards I particularly like in this deck. There's the Moff Jared. He's amazing. If you create number of tokens, you defeat this unit and create double the amount of tokens instead. He's a bit weak and piddling. He's not very useful other than that. But if you're going to create 5 or 6 advantage tokens using the Emperor Palpatine's main ability, then this will double that, which is great. The Emperor's Champion, Shielded Saboteur, is very tasty. 3/5. There's a lot of ground sentinels in play in the metagame these days, so having that Saboteur is great, and having him shielded is nice if you need to go into something or potentially get him hit. The Darth Vader unit here is such a good unit. Oh man. I mean, his stats are about... they're slightly underpowered compared for his cost, but the fact he comes in shielded and he can be a sentinel the turn after he is deployed makes him incredibly powerful, so he's a very, very useful card that you'll want to be playing every single game you possibly can do. And Craving Power is one of the best upgrades and cards in the current green-black aspect pool at the moment. The upgrade and shooting things for damage, which can cross arenas, is very tasty indeed. So let's have some of those. Thank you. Cards I'd consider cutting from the Spotlight deck. I don't really like Nowhere to Hide. The fact that it gives something a benefit whilst giving it a downside at the same time... sure, good. Maybe you want to do a -2 to an enemy unit and you want the flexibility. Maybe you want to make your own unit a sentinel. Is it worth 2? Probably, but I also don't really like the dual nature way this card works. Long Live the Empire doesn't work very well with the synergy of this deck. It is cheap ramp, but it requires you to defeat a friendly Imperial unit, and this deck's synergy with the way the leader works is it wants you to have units in play in order to make the most of Emperor Palpatine's ability in order to create and generate more advantage tokens. Likewise, Rook's support ability is great if you use it to attack with someone else. But then he's only got one attack himself, so you're not going to be killing much with one attack, unless you buff him with upgrades and advantage tokens, of course. But really, I'd rather have something with just a bit more raw power to it. So I looked at cutting Rook from this deck. Hold Them Off is another card that can clear stuff in the same way Craving Power does, but frankly, I'd rather just use Craving Power. Also, admittedly, you're buffing things with advantage tokens in order to be able to increase the power of your units, but after you do so, your opponent will have a chance to go into them and clear those advantage tokens, at which point your Hold Them Off isn't as powerful as it was. So I chose to cut that one from this deck in favour of other more synergistic cards in the end of the day. Cards I'd add, there's a bunch of these, I think it's like 6 pages. Wingman Victor 2. So the strategy here is the Emperor Palpatine card gets better the more units you have in play. So I've chosen to focus on units that either create more tokens, more units for the space of one card play, or I've gone into shielded units because they're the most resilient, and which is straightforward. So Wingman Victor 2 creates a token when you play him as a pilot. Great. Kijimi Patrollers create a token, so you get 2 1/1 TIE Fighters for the cost of 2, which is, I mean, that's about what you'd pay for them anyway. You're not getting much of a bonus for doing so, but you're getting it with one card play. So, yeah, that's okay. Rookie Rocket Jumper could be a 2/1 shielded for 2, which is nice. And the Black Sun Patrol will be a 2/2 shielded for 2. It's stronger because it costs. It requires you to have yellow and a black, whereas Rookie Rocket Jumper only requires you to have a yellow. Shuttle ST-149 comes in shielded and can move its shield. It's a very versatile card. Likewise, Tie Ambush Squadron will create more tokens as it is played and defeated, so you're getting more units on the board with which to fuel the Emperor's main advantage-giving ability. ISB Shuttle can also create a token, potentially. Shin Hati comes in hidden, so she's difficult to attack on the turn she is deployed, and she's shielded, so she will survive potentially for quite some time, which is very helpful again, getting the most out of Palpatine's ability. This Chancellor Palpatine, though, 3 cost, you get 3 units for it if you play him as a plot card when you flip your leader unit. This is just bonkers. It's great. You get a potential power of 6, which is alright, for the cost of playing 3 resources and 3 units. It feels tailor-made for this deck. Absolutely, right then and there, which is Palpatine, so you can kind of see why it might be. Halo gives shield tokens, which will help units survive longer. General Draven is obviously a rebel X-Wing general from, I think, the Andor and Rogue One TV series and movie. But again, he creates tokens, so that is also of potential interest and use. Trade Federation Delegates, you'll get 3 units for the cost of 5. The 3/4 is understated for 5, but you're getting 3 units total, which is tasty. Likewise, Boba Fett is shielded, and the Techno Union Transport is also shielded, which is why they were chosen. Dedra Miro will create more tokens each time she attacks and she has ambush. Iron the Senate creates 5 tokens for 6. It's 10 power, it's 5 tokens, it's a kind of a no-brainer to include in a way. Sorcerer's a Ton being shielded will help. Elzar Man is going to be a finisher, potentially. Obviously you can play him before you deploy Palpatine, but Palpatine is a Force leader. Elzar Man will always enter play ready, and then you can distribute more advantage tokens. There's a downside: your opponent searches for an answer. You don't have to distribute the advantage tokens if you don't want to, but you can play a ready 3 attack unit with potentially an extra 5 damage elsewhere on the board, which is quite tasty. Watch This will help your unit survive, assuming that you use it on the ground, because most of the things we're going to be creating here are ground units, or including in the deck ground units. There's going to be some space, but most of it's ground. This will help you keep all those units alive just a turn longer, ready for Palpatine's flip turn on 7 resources. Timely Reinforcements can create a whole bunch of units, which, as we've already established, is very useful to have. Card Draw is great. Card Draw is very powerful. It's also quite expensive. It's normally costed at 1 card for 2 resources. This allows you to draw 2 cards for 2 resources if you defeat a friendly upgrade, and you're going to be making a ton of advantage tokens, so sacrificing a friendly advantage token isn't exactly going to cost you very much, allowing you to draw 2 cards for the cost of 2. I flagged that as being interesting in this deck. Likewise, Contempt for Culture will create a spy token, which is alright, as well as doing 2 damage. You'll have a 0-2 unit on the board with Raid 2, and doing 2 damage as a tiny bit of removal. Yeah, you're creating a token and doing 2 damage, which on the face of it now I consider it isn't really that great, which is probably why I didn't consider it and include it in the final deck. 3 lessons will allow you to play a hidden shielded unit with an experience token. You'll be playing under curve with it, but the fact it will have a hidden and experience and a shield token is potentially very, very useful for survivability of the unit itself. Creating 2 Mandalorian tokens, which are both 2/2 shielded. They'll be alive for quite some time. They're in aspect. Strong card to include in this deck. The Warrior's Legacy also can create Mandalorian token when the unit's attached to is defeated, but +2/+1 for 3. It's not the most rewarding card in the world. Having said that, leader removal is very difficult these days, so if you put it on the leader, well, you're not wanting to get defeated, are you? No, maybe not the best inclusion in the world here. Either way, I flagged it because it created another token. Full of surprises. Bouncing an upgrade can be useful because you want to bounce someone's shield if you want to kill them, if they've got a shielded sentinel, or they've got a cheap upgrade you want to get rid of, and giving a shield token to a unit will help it survive that little bit longer, which will tie into the Palpatine synergies. Alright. The upgraded deck. This is what I've wound up with. There was a lot there to potentially cut. You'll see that I did cut some of the special S-rated cards in order to be able to include everything that I wanted to include in this deck. We've got the 3 Craving Plower I flagged as being particularly exceptional, likewise the Darth Vader, likewise the Chancellor Palpatine's in the top right there. Executor is your end game. There's only 2 of them in there because, frankly, if you get to 8 resources, you should be able to have drawn one of them. I have no idea if you can hear that noise out there. That's potentially disrupting, but hey, we'll deal with that in the editing. Executor is only 2 of, because once you reach 8 resources, having drawn one of them is a fairly reasonable expectation to have. The Great Mothers are good. Iron the Senate is good, as I mentioned. I went through why all the cards I've included here are good in doing so. Helix Starfighter I don't think I mentioned specifically, but I've left it in this deck because it's flexible in that if they're not going to attack it or kill it, you don't give it the shield, if they haven't got any space units to run into it. Otherwise, it can just run based with the advantage tokens, or it can be a shielded one for an extra bit of survivability. Jajerod is good in that it can be any token. You could play Stronger Together, create 2 Mandalorian tokens and double that to 4 Mandalorian tokens by using Moff Jajerod. It's not just an advantage token, it is any token. It could be a TIE Fighter, could be a Mandalorian token, could be an advantage token, could be anything that's a token. Shielded is a token. If you wanted to kill Moff Jajerod and give Darth Vader 2 shields when you play him, you could absolutely do that. It's such a flexible, powerful card. It's really, really good. So yeah, there we go. Right. That's the end. Thank you very much. Tell me what you thought. Tell me what cards you wouldn't have included. Tell me what cards you would have included. Tell the rest of the audience all of these things. I hope you got some value out of this. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.